Hey, future civil servants. Ready for today's deep dive? We're going to be looking at something that's not just changing science and technology, but it could really change India's future.
Absolutely. It's a huge shift in how India thinks about science and technology policy.
And guess what? This could be a hot topic for your UPSC exams.
For sure. Both prelims and mains.
So, if you're serious about that exam, you need to know this stuff.
You'll get a sneak peek into India's global ambitions, economic goals, strategic aspirations, the whole idea of comprehensive national power.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit. India's science and tech scene has always been dominated by the government.
Right?
Think
Right.
Tifrabark.
Yes.
Huge institutions, and they've done some amazing things.
Yeah.
The 1974 nuclear test, for example.
Remarkable achievement.
But now things are changing. We're seeing private companies and universities getting involved in research and development.
It's a big shift from that old focus on self-reliance and nation building.
So what's the driving force behind this change?
Innovation. Fast innovation. It's all about keeping up with the global economy, staying competitive.
So is India just copying what other countries are doing?
Not really. More like taking inspiration, adapting it to fit the Indian context.
I like that. Like taking the best parts of different recipes and making something new.
Exactly.
So who are these chefs? Who's inspiring India?
Well, look at the United States NASA, for instance.
Okay.
They contract out a lot of their work to private companies and universities.
Really?
Yeah. Take the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL.
GPL. Okay.
It started at Caltech and then partnered with NASA. That's public-private partnership at its best.
So the U.S. model is about using the speed and expertise of the private sector, even in space exploration,
Yeah.
which we usually think of as a government thing.
Right. And then there's China. Look at their AI boom.
Wow. Yeah, that's been incredible.
Private companies are leading the way there.
Real.
Absolutely. Companies like DeepSeek, they actually started in algorithmic trading.
Wow, so they were making money in the stock market.
Exactly. And now they're shaping the future of AI.
That's amazing expertise from one field spilling over into another.
It happens more often than you think.
Any other examples of this private sector involvement in research?
Even France, a country known for strong government control, they outsource most of their defense research.
To private companies.
Yes, but with government funding, of course.
So even in defense, private firms can play a big role.
They can. It's about recognizing where innovation comes from.
Okay, so what makes these models so successful? What's the secret sauce?
Flexibility, competition, and diverse expertise.
Okay, I see.
You need a system that can adapt quickly, where the best ideas win, and where the public and private sectors work together.
So India's learning from the best.
Yeah.
But what does this new playbook actually look like? What are the concrete steps?
There's been a lot happening on the policy side, a real change in thinking. Like a paper came out in December 2024, made a strong argument for giving public money to private R&D.
Oh, interesting. So the government funding private research.
Exactly. And it stressed spreading the risk, diversifying investments, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Makes sense. Spreading the money around
Yeah.
to different projects, different companies to increase the chances of success.
Right.
Like venture capitalists funding science.
Yeah. It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So what have we seen come out of this new policy?
Yeah. What are some of the initiatives?
One of the biggest, Habom, the Anusandhan National Research Foundation, ANRF.
Okay, ANRF.
It has a huge budget to fund private R&D, especially early stage research, the stuff that usually struggles to find funding.
So the ANRF is like a jumpstart for private sector innovation.
That's a good way to put it. And the 2024-25 budget also showed this shift.
Oh, really?
Yeah, big chunk of money allocated to private sector research and innovation. The government is serious about this.
So it's not just they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly, and it's happening across different sectors.
Okay, so it's not just one or two areas. Give us some examples.
Sure, even ISRO. They're now hiring private companies to build launch vehicles.
ISR. But they're known for doing everything in-house.
I know, right? It's a big change.
So why are they doing that?
To boost efficiency, to be more competitive in the space sector. It's recognizing that collaboration can be better.
So sometimes it's better to partner up than try to do everything yourself.
Exactly. And what about IT? The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MEITY, they're doing cool things with AI.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
They're allocating GPUs, graphics processing units, the hardware you need for AI research.
Okay.
And they're doing it through private IT firms.
So instead of building their own data centers, They're working with companies that already have them,
Right, and researchers can access these GPUs at a very low cost.
so it's cheaper for them.
Way cheaper. It makes AI research more accessible, more people can participate.
Smart. It's like they're opening up the field to everyone.
Exactly. And this fits in with the buy, not make strategy that's becoming more popular, moving away from only using state-owned equipment.
Okay, so we've seen the inspiration, the policies, the actual initiatives. India's serious about changing its science and tech landscape.
Very
But what does it all mean for India's future? What are the implications of this huge shift?
well. For one, it could trigger a wave of innovation. New ideas, new businesses, more jobs.
Economic growth.
Exactly. And by tapping into the energy of the private sector, India could become a global leader in technology, not just a consumer.
From made in India to invented in India.
You got it. But let's be realistic, this transition won't be easy.
There will be challenges, of course. What kind of roadblocks do you see?
One of the biggest, figuring out how to audit R&D when you buy stuff, like computers or lab equipment. It's easy to audit, but R&D is about ideas. It's harder to measure.
Makes sense. It's not like checking a shopping list.
Right. We need new ways to evaluate R&D investments.
So it's more complex than just seeing if the money was spent correctly.
Way more complex. It's about the value of the knowledge created, the potential applications, the overall contribution to science.
So it's a much more nuanced process.
Yes. And that leads to another challenge. We need legal and institutional reforms. Our current systems are built for the old model of government-led research.
So we need to update our laws and our institutions.
Exactly, to support this new way of doing science and technology, to make public-private partnerships work.
So it's not just about the money. It's about changing the whole ecosystem.
Right. We need a system that's flexible and responsive, that can keep up with the pace of technology. And then there's the issue of risk and accountability.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
When public money is involved, we need to make sure private companies are using it responsibly, ethically, effectively.
It's a tough balance to encourage bold research, but also protect public funds.
Exactly. Finding that balance is crucial. How do we allow for failure while still making sure the money is used well? How do we make sure scientific progress benefits everyone? These are big questions. We need to figure them out.
So much to think about, right?
Yeah.
Especially for our listeners preparing to the UPSC. How does all of this tie into the exam?
It's a perfect example of a topic that connects different parts of the UPSC syllabus.
Okay, I see.
Got the economic side of things, the strategic stuff about national power, how to manage these public-private partnerships, and even the ethics of making sure scientific advances help everyone.
So it's a multidimensional issue.
It is. It needs a broad understanding.
For those future civil servants out there, staying updated on current events can really give you an advantage in the UPSC.
Absolutely.
It's not just memorizing facts.
Right.
It's about making connections, seeing the big picture, understanding how policies affect things.
Exactly. The UPSC wants people who can think critically, analyze situations, understand complex issues.
Right.
This topic is a great way to show those skills.
So how could this come up in the exam?
They might ask you to analyze the challenges and opportunities of private sector involvement in research.
Okay.
Or compare India's approach to what other countries are doing, like the US or China.
So for our listeners on the UPSC journey,
Mm,
this deep dive has given you a lot to think about.
I hope so.
Maybe a good time to recap the key takeaways.
Yeah, good idea. So India's changing its science and technology policy, moving away from a government-led model to one that includes the private sector. This is all about promoting faster innovation, boosting economic growth, making India a global leader.
We see new policies.
Yeah.
More funding for private R&D.
Right.
And a focus on partnerships.
Exactly. We've also talked about learning from other countries like the US and China, but adapting those lessons to India.
Right. But there are challenges too.
Of course. Figuring out how to audit R&D, changing our laws and institutions, finding that balance between innovation and accountability.
So it's a complex situation, full of opportunities and challenges.
Exactly. And for UPSC aspirants, it's something you need to know. It could definitely be on the exam.
For sure. So to all our future civil servants, I hope this deep dive has been helpful and insightful. Remember, knowledge is power.
Yes. But it's what you do with that knowledge that matters.
Exactly. Analyzing, synthesizing, applying it. That's what makes you stand out.
And don't forget to stay curious. Keep learning. This field is always changing.
Right. As future policymakers, you'll be shaping India's approach to these changes.
It's a big responsibility.
It is. To all our aspiring civil servants, keep learning and good luck on your UPSC journey.
Best of luck.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for further queries. And be sure to check out the Indian Express. That's where we got all this great information. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.